Hey, everybody, welcome to The Sound. I'm so glad that you joined us here today. I have another wonderful story for you. Well, I don't have, but our guest, Erin Wojcicki, is going to share her story with you today. And I'm sure that you're going to be encouraged and inspired. This, as I say every time that this is being done, this whole idea of The Sound is really to encourage other people who are going through trials and testings and whatever it is that we may be going through, that we're here to help one another get through. We're here to encourage one another. We're here to make a difference on this earth, to make our sound, right, to release it, and to share with others, to show them that they're not alone. And we're here, we were built for community, and so we're here to encourage one another and to help one another. So I hope I'm sure that Erin's story, and I'm excited because I don't know her whole story. I only know a little bit of background of what she's told me, so I'm really interested in learning her story. And I just want a few housekeeping things to get out of the way. Make sure you please hit the like button and subscribe, share, comment. It's the only way we're going to get this out to others, because as you may or may not know, YouTube will not push us up, and the algorithms will not show these videos to many people unless we have people doing those things. So I would just ask you to please do that, share with your friends, your family. And if this has been an encouragement to you, please just, comment, or what are you going through? Put it in the comment section. So I'm going to thank you in advance for that. So, all right. So I just want to say this is not the first time I've met Erin. And if you have been over on our other channel, Worldwide Academy Training Services, which is our nonprofit organization, you will see an interview that I did with Erin. And she's going to tell you a little bit about that, because that's part of her background. So if you haven't, go over to that channel as well, Worldwide Academy Training Services. And especially if you have dogs, if you have pets, and I'll let Erin tell you a little bit about that. But I met Erin first through that, and which I was totally amazed, because I'd never heard. Oh, look at that. There's the friend.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. And so I was totally like, wow, I never had heard about, what she does. So, and then, we got talking, and she's part of our group, private Facebook group called The Sound and Sound Media Productions, where I'm looking for people to share their stories. So she's going to share her personal story with you today. So, all right, Erin, thank you so much again.
Okay. So I'm married. We've been married for 17 years this year. Yeah, pretty awesome.
Congratulations. That is
Yeah.
quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty awesome. We have 3 kids. My kids are awesome. Just trying to think of what else to give you as a background.
Well, give us a little background about what we talked about in our last video over at the Academy.
Yeah,
Because I know I know you're excited about that, and I'm really excited
yeah.
about working with you more in that.
Yeah, and that's definitely a large part of like who I am in my life and stuff. So my passion is dogs. And so I am a certified dog bite prevention educator. So I like to help educate people on how to read body language in their dogs so that they can avoid getting bit. I am also working on my training certification so that I can be a force-free, fear-free dog trainer. And then I also I'm working towards being a behavior consultant as well. So all 3 of them kind of work together, but right now my certification is in dog bite prevention, which it's awesome and fascinating, and I love it.
Yeah, and that's a really good niche to be in, like I've never heard of this before. I'm sure that, and when I've spoken to other people, because in our academy, we also train, as you know, train people in pet first aid and CPR. And when I would mention to them that, I met you and that we're going to, maybe work together with some classes, they were like, oh, I'd love to come to that. So it's definitely something that I think you found a really cool niche, and you'll be good with it. So yeah, well, that's wonderful. I'm sorry, go ahead. So,
Oh no, that's it. That's all. Just
okay.
yeah, my family and dogs are my favorite things.
Okay. So, Erin, you have been through some difficult times. That's
Yeah,
why we're on here to just
sorry.
encourage others. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sorry, I apologize. He's fidgety, but he wants to be up on my lap.
It's okay. It's fine. We're good.
Sure. So 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I was 37 when I was diagnosed. And it's really interesting to me because, um, so I am the 12th woman on my dad's side of the family to have been diagnosed with breast cancer. But my genetic testing, which they did after I was diagnosed, came back negative, which is so bizarre to me because with that high amount of women,
Mhm.
I don't know. So the genetic counselor said that there's probably a gene out there that hasn't been discovered yet that my family has. But I just thought that was so interesting. So
How did you,
November, what's that?
sorry, how did you come about, how did you know, how did you discover this? Like how'd you know?
So November of 2019, I had found a lump in my breast on my own. Because of the high level of women in my family, I was always taught to do self checks.
Mhm.
My aunt, who I'm very close with, is a two-time breast cancer survivor. So I knew that this was something I needed to do. That's my dad's sister, and my mom's mom also had breast cancer. So it's very close in my lines.
Okay.
Um, so I just, whenever I would think to do an exam, I would make sure I did it. So I found this lump and I went to my gynecologist to have it checked, and they thought it was just possibly a cyst,
Mhm.
but to keep an eye on it. And before I had actually found, or before I went to my gynecologist, I had asked my aunt, who's the two-time survivor. I called her and I said, I found this lump. I'm not really sure. Like, what do you think? So
Mhm.
she encouraged me to go get it checked out. And so they then scheduled me to go for like a diagnostic mammogram. But interestingly, I had gotten really sick. So my husband and I redo furniture, and I had been outside sanding furniture. And the
Okay.
wind blew, and I inhaled this dust, and I ended up getting super sick. But looking back, I think it may have actually been COVID because it was right before the big blow up of COVID. Because I was
Mhm.
sick for several months. So I actually put my mammogram on hold because I was so sick. Um, and over that period of time, I started to notice this lump was getting larger.
Mm.
And it got to the point where you could actually see it.
Oh.
Like if I turn sideways or something, you can actually see a little bit of it. So I ended up rescheduling as it was growing. I'm like, okay, this is making me a little nervous. So I
I was
called
going
them
to ask
back.
you, yeah, I was going to say, what did you, kind of back up a little bit, like the first time you discovered it and knowing that you had this family thing, what were you feeling when you first realized?
Um, well, I'm not one that has ever kind of been like, oh, not me, that won't happen to me. So I
Mhm.
didn't have that thought.
Okay.
It was kind of just like, I don't even know that I was in denial, but I just kind of thought that maybe it was a cyst, but I had no idea how things like this grew and
Hmm.
whatever. So
Okay.
I probably wasn't as emotional as most people would be or would think I should be, which still boggles my mind. But my aunt pointed out she thinks my faith is what helped me get through it.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so I I ended up going for my diagnostic mammogram then in March. So several months later, and this tumor had gotten larger. So I went for that, and they immediately sent me for a biopsy, like just a few doors down.
Hmm.
Um, and they said that based on it was called a spiculated mass. So it looked like kind of like a starburst on the
Okay.
biopsy.
Okay.
Um, and they said that is typically cancer.
Mm.
So they had got me set up for a biopsy. Sorry, he's wanting to go on the table and I don't want him to go there. They set me up for a biopsy a few weeks later. And that came back that it was positive for breast cancer. Um, and sorry, I'm probably going to be all over the place. I'm just trying to
No,
figure
no,
out how
that's
to make.
okay. That's okay.
Um, so, and what was interesting too, like right after my biopsy, I started getting pain in my arm.
Mm,
And again, I had been outside standing furniture and I thought I just overdid it. And this
hmm.
pain kept getting worse and worse. So I went to my doctors and I said, I'm currently waiting to hear results on if I have breast cancer. So I was just letting them know what's going on. And she said, well, cancer patients usually have stickier skin. They thought it was a blood clot. They sent me for an
Mm.
ultrasound of my arm, and I ended up having two blood clots in my arm.
Oh, wow.
One was a DVT, which is pretty serious. I forget
Mm,
what it actually stands for, DVT, something I don't remember, but
mhm.
it was a bad one.
Oh, wow.
Um, so it was like this whirlwind of stuff happening at once. And so I'm all over the place. I apologize.
No, no, it's okay. I was thinking, I mean, I gotta take you back to when you first discovered it and how you reacted.
Mhm.
I wonder if part of you're not being, I mean, and again, could be your nature, could be just your, like you said, your faith, that maybe too seeing how your aunt had come through twice already, maybe that had some kind of effect. I don't know. I was just, I'm thinking that seeing that others had already come through,
Yeah. I definitely
maybe.
think that was probably part of it because her second time she was diagnosed, she was stage 4. And
Um,
usually people say, oh, well, that's a death sentence. Nobody can be cured from stage 4. Well, I think it's been 13 years and it hasn't come back for her, and she's considered cancer free. So,
Wonderful. Yeah.
yeah. So I tend to not follow oh, it's not going to go away. You have it forever, because she has proved different. Um,
Mhm.
so I definitely think that that helped me. And having her was a huge help because she had been through it. So I was
Mm,
able to, talk to her and she was able to encourage me and stuff. So, um, but yeah, most women from the research I've done, like I was really young to have been diagnosed. And
mhm.
actually her first time, she was only 29, so she was even younger.
Mm,
So a lot of people think, oh, well, I'm too young. No, like you need to check yourself all the time because it can hit you
mhm.
earlier than you're anticipating. Um, but yeah, it was really kind of a crazy time when I was
Mhm.
diagnosed because it was right at the start of COVID actually happening. And my kids had just been sent home for, the 2 weeks for COVID that turned into like a year or whatever.
Yeah.
But everyone was like, oh, what a terrible time to go through breast cancer during COVID. But I actually looked at it as a blessing in disguise because my kids were home. They weren't bringing germs home to me from school. My
Mhm.
husband went virtual for work, so he was here.
Mm,
So there was no way I would have been able to be going through chemo, getting my kids up ready for school and out the door while I was so sick, like literally fighting to stay alive.
yeah.
So um, it was a
What were
huge
you,
blessing.
what were the symptoms, the things that were happening to you and what,
Like during chemo
yeah,
or just
yeah, so you got chemo.
hmm Yeah, I never had radiation,
Okay.
um, but I did have chemo. And so the type of cancer I had was called HER2 positive.
Okay.
And then there's like a subtype. So it's basically based on hormones. And I was hormone negative. So I
Okay.
was HER2 positive, estrogen and progesterone negative. Um,
Mm.
and years ago, sorry, I had a hair in my mouth from my dog. Years ago, that type of cancer was a death sentence. And there was somebody who came out with a medication called Herceptin that is specifically targeted or specifically created to target that type of cancer.
Okay.
And now, but it's still a rare and aggressive breast cancer, which
Okay.
was, I mean, it like my tumor grew so fast in just a matter of months. So I was stage 2 by the time I was diagnosed. And then there's a grading level. So I was grade 3, which means it's super aggressive. So
Okay.
anyway, sorry to go back to that. So with
No, no, that's good.
chemo, my first chemo that I had, that whole weekend, I laid on the couch feeling like I was dying. It was worse than any flu I've ever had. I can't even describe it. Like my whole body hurt inside, outside, like
Mhm.
everything. Just, it was miserable.
Yeah.
Um, And I really struggled through chemo with nausea. I never got physically sick, like I never threw up or anything, but the nausea was terrible and nothing would touch it. I had nausea medicine. I was sucking on all kinds of like lemon candies, and there's something called like Queasy drops, and they didn't help. And
Oh.
it was terrible. And yeah, and so like I said, I apologize. I'm all over the place here.
Right. So what were you, so when you were going through that, was there ever a time that you were kind of doubting that you'd pull through, or how was your mindset then?
Actually, my mindset was pretty good the whole time.
Okay.
I don't think I ever thought I was gonna die.
Okay.
Um, and um, yeah, I think I just this is what I was dealt with, and I need to do what I need to do, and so I'm
Mhm.
gonna do it. Kind of like that's the choice I have. I have to do it. And
Yeah.
I could never imagine not being here for my kids. Like
Mm.
that's not even a question. So
How important do you think that is for people to have a mindset like that?
I think it's huge. I'm in a couple breast cancer support groups on Facebook,
Hmm.
and I'm still staying in them even though I'm now through it, but I like to be
Hmm.
able to help encourage others with it. And you can really see a difference between the women who think, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to die," and the
Hmm.
women who are like, "Okay, I need to just do what I do." And you can see a difference in how they are getting through it and handling it. And so it's I feel like those groups are so important because people like me and others who have gone through it can be like,
Hmm.
no, that's not just because you have cancer doesn't mean you're going to die. Like you
Yeah.
can and will get through it. And it's very, very treatable nowadays.
Well, that's wonderful that you are part of that you can offer encouragement. And, that's again, I say that like every interview that I've been doing, I keep coming back to this, that there's this common thread through whatever it was that the people were going through, is that they had the mindset of
Mhm.
coming through it. They had the quote positive mindset, faith that they were not finished, that they were going to, and you being so young and having a family and really pushing through,
Yeah.
knowing that you were not going to leave them behind, I think it makes a really big difference, you
Hmm.
know.
And
So,
it was interesting to see how my kids handled it. We waited to tell them until we had a plan. We
okay,
didn't want to tell them, oh, we think mom might have cancer. We wanted to wait until we knew, okay, mom has cancer, but this is what we're doing about it.
okay, good, yeah.
So we told them all together, and they all kind of reacted in a different way, which I found really interesting. Um,
Hmm.
and what I thought was really neat, my daughter is the oldest.
Hmm.
She kind of, they were all at the table, and she kind of like sat back for a minute. She went up to her room and she cried, and then she
Hmm.
came back down ready to help. And
Oh.
yeah, and she really helped, like I said, with my kids being home for school, she
Hmm.
was able to help them get through their classes or whatever. Even though she had her own work to worry about as well, she was
Hmm.
able to she created a schedule for both of them. Like this is
Oh.
when you're going to work on your schoolwork, this is when you're going to have free time.
Hmm.
And it was amazing. So it was a huge, huge help that she kind of stepped up into that role to
Yeah,
help.
she
And
stepped. And how old was she then? About
um
15 or
17,
oh, 17?
16,
Right, she's
16 or
29. Yeah.
17. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Wow. And that's the other thing that is a common thread, was that having the support group around you, the
yeah.
people. Again,
Mhm.
we can't do this life without each other,
Right.
and to have that is so, so important, to have that
Yeah.
encouragement and help. So
Yeah.
that's really good.
And
Yeah.
and that's one thing that was kind of a struggle with it being during COVID. Everybody had to stay away from everyone. So that
Yeah.
was hard because I didn't really get visitors, but I had a ton of people bringing us meals, sending
Mm,
cards, sending gifts for me.
right.
I mean, I was constantly getting something, and I felt so loved that I had all these people thinking of me.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm like losing my voice.
That's
And one of
okay.
the things, one of my best friends right before my surgery, because I had a bilateral mastectomy. So even though I had a tumor only in one breast, I had both removed because of the high level in my
Okay.
family.
Okay.
I'm like, just take them both. I don't want to take any chances.
Oh.
Um, but she had this company put a sign in my yard that said, "You got this, Erin."
Oh.
And I remember I was upstairs, or maybe I was in the living room. I forget. But my daughter had come downstairs and she sees out our front door and she goes, "Mom, you have a sign." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "You got one of those giant signs." So I ran out and I looked, and it was just such a neat surprise to have that. So
Yeah.
that was cool. And then I had other people, it's called heart attacking, where you make hearts and you write notes on them and stuff. They covered my garage door in that before
Oh.
my surgery from all these friends that I have from church and everything. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
That's amazing. Like again, and you said something, I should have written it down, but you said about, yeah, well, all this love, like it's amazing what love can do. Like true
Yeah.
love. What
Yeah.
is true love is, love your neighbor as yourself, and they definitely did that for you. And that is just, wow, that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. It was definitely helpful. But one of it sounds, I guess it kind of sounds vain, but yet it's not, I guess. One of the most difficult things for me was losing my hair. That was really
Yeah.
hard. Yeah. And I had I had super thick, super long hair. Like it was down to my waist and super, super thick. And that was really, really hard to lose it.
You would never
And
know that now. I mean, look at your hair. It's beautiful. I was thinking about that earlier. It's like, oh, her hair is so nice and curly. Look at mine. I like have to do it.
well, I have genetics for curly hair, but
Yeah.
also I heard, chemo can give people curls. And so I have curlier hair than I've ever had in my life before, but
Yeah.
it's super thin now and it makes me self-conscious because you can kind of see my scalp.
It doesn't
But
look it.
that
It looks
was
beautiful.
really that was really hard for me though. And but
I bet.
another neat thing was when my hair started falling out and we were like, okay, well my oncologist had said, because we asked how soon till I start losing my hair. And he's like, it's usually about 2 weeks. And it was like 2 weeks on the dot that my
Mm.
hair started coming out. So we actually had like a shaving party for me with my family, my husband and all three of my kids. They took
Oh,
turns cutting and shaving my head.
oh,
Yeah. And
that
then
must have been so hard though
it
for,
was so hard. It was so hard. And
yeah.
a friend of mine who's a hairdresser, she came over and she had actually cut my hair to my shoulders or to my chin before my first chemo. And I have a friend who makes wigs for like film and theater and stuff. But we sent her my hair and she made me a wig with my own hair, which was really
Oh,
special. Yeah.
that's wonderful.
Yeah. So that was neat. But
Wow, Erin, it just seems like you had everything around you that you needed. And it's so, it just inspires me to really to be more aware of what others are, maybe going through with
mhm.
whatever it is that they're suffering through, whether it's sickness, disease, or relationship issue, whatever it is, I think we have to be more aware of that, of what someone else might be doing and
Yeah,
going through, and having the compassion, um, and
definitely.
try to understand, like where maybe certain behaviors are coming from, or where the, things that they might say. And um, because we are, I mean, let's face it, we're humans and we're self-centered. And
Yeah,
so we think about ourselves, and it's, I think that some of the things that we go through is really to help us to become more aware of others and to have that compassion, um,
I
so that we're
agree.
not so self-centered.
Yeah. There
Yeah.
was, well, um, that's sorry, I just had a couple things that you made me think of adding. Well,
Yeah,
the
go
one
ahead.
thing was that's one thing that changed for me was I don't feel like I was self-centered, but going through this made me really get my priorities in check and really made me see like, okay, what is the most important thing? It's not things, it's the people in my life. Those are the most important
Hmm.
things for me. And I need to make sure that that is my priority. And so that really helped me put those things in perspective. And then as
Hmm.
far as like helping others, um, shortly after, I guess maybe I was in treatment, I was towards the end of my treatment. An older woman at my church came up to me and asked me about my experience. And here she had been diagnosed. And
Mm,
so I was able to be a huge support for her. My husband and I went to the store and we bought a bunch of things for a care package and gave that to her before her first chemo. And
mhm,
I didn't realize how much I had touched her. And then she told me like maybe a year later how just me doing that helped her get through it.
mhm.
And so that made me feel good because like I wasn't trying to get any recognition. I just was like, I know how this is. I know how terrible it is. And so I
Exactly.
want you to be able to get through this okay. So
Yeah.
it was really nice to know that I was able to help her.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer that we don't go through stuff just through for ourselves. I
Right.
know that we're being worked on, but it's really to benefit others as
Yeah.
well. And,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Change our hearts, change our minds.
so how long did you go through it then? Was your treatment?
So I had started, so I call it the hard chemo, and then there's my targeted therapy. So I had both of those together it was from April until the end of July that I had those. And it was I think I went every 3 weeks. Um, and it was so hard because you barely had time to recover from the first one before you went
Mm,
for the next one. And and then I had continued on with targeted therapy until the following May.
okay.
So full treatment was over a year's time. And then I had my surgery the month after my hard chemo ended, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. But
Yes.
one thing that was really, I think the only time that was scary for me, as I had mentioned, those blood clots,
Hmm.
um, I'm still at the age where I still get a cycle. I was put on blood thinners. That does
Mm.
not mix well.
Yeah.
My hemoglobin dropped down to 4.6. And normally, I think it's like 13 is the normal level, I think, or something. And they wouldn't
Yeah.
even give you chemo if it was below like 7. So they had told me, I walked in there, I remember hearing my heartbeat in my head, my legs felt like lead. And I went in there for chemo and they said, how did you walk in here? Like it's a miracle that you're alive right now.
Wow.
So I got a blood transfusion.
Oh my.
And yeah, that was really scary. So then they ended up putting me on something called Zoladex, which was a shot. The needle was the size of a pencil, like that thick.
Oh.
And that basically shut down my ovaries. So I was put into temporary menopause so that didn't happen again. But that was a scary time, losing like
Oh.
that much hemoglobin. Sorry if that was TMI, but
No, no, that's part of it. So yeah, I can imagine that must have been, and plus not feeling well on top of all of that.
yeah.
Wow.
And
So,
oh, sorry. I was
no,
just
no,
going to
go
say,
ahead.
and being in this support group for other cancer women, a lot of times I almost feel guilty because I
Mm,
didn't feel like my journey was that hard. But I said that to my husband one day and he goes, it was hard. He's like,
mm,
you were sick. So I don't know if I blocked it out or what, but
mm,
I do feel guilty sometimes because I see other women have so much more difficulty and have, scarier things happening or their
mm.
cancer metastasizing to elsewhere. And it
Yeah.
makes me cry because I'm like, I wish I could
Mhm.
do something for you. Like I just feel so bad. And
Yeah, and that's the compassion that you gathered from going through that yourself. But everybody has their own journey.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that was your journey. And we're all given, I also believe too, we're all given as much as we can handle and as much as we're supposed to go through in order to help others as well. So, I hope that you don't hold on to that guilt because it doesn't have anything to do with you and you are doing so much, to encourage other people. I really hope that this message, your story gets out to a lot more people. Is there anything, I'll get this question just pop up in my head. Is there anything that you would have done different? Have you ever thought of
um,
that?
I don't I don't know that there is anything that I could have done different.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Mhm.
I just kind of went along with what I needed to do. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
there a lot of women do get very sick on it, on going through chemo and stuff.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I am totally happy to share tips and tricks with people that I learned that helped me.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that would be
but I don't know that there's anything different that I would have done.
okay.
Um,
Yeah, that's fine. I just had the question pop up in my head, and it's again, like, you're saying that your husband said you were sick, and but you were like, when you look back, it's like, well, I did what I had to do.
yeah,
Maybe at the time you may have not felt so good, going through it, but when
yeah.
you compare your journey to others, you think, well, mine wasn't that bad. But I think again, because of the mindset, the determination,
Yeah.
and just it's the way it was. So
My daughter actually had to write a paper, as I had mentioned in the beginning. She's going to school for education, and she did like I don't remember exactly what the theme was, but she basically did a paper on how students going through something can affect them in school.
mm,
And so she used her and her brothers while I was going through chemo and how it affected them. And
mm,
she interviewed my boys on how they felt while going through it. And my older son, he had said that it was really hard because they did their schoolwork here at our dining room table, which faces our living room. And he said, I'm sitting there trying to do work. And anytime I looked up, I see mom sick on the couch, sleeping.
oh,
And so that really, it was a struggle for him, because they worried about me. They worried, am I going to be
sure.
okay? And so I thought that was interesting because while I was going through it, I didn't realize, I did realize how they were affected, but not to that degree. I didn't realize that they're sitting here doing their schoolwork and seeing me sick and
Yeah,
sleeping.
yeah.
Um, so that was kind of eye-opening for me.
That's amazing that she did that though. Now, I mean, again, I look at that as, an even another extension of how what you went through is helping others because she's addressing what other children, or young people are going through when they have, and that's it's so important. Oh, you're probably so proud of her. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
all of them are amazing, and
Yeah.
and just like her maturity level, how she stepped up was just incredible. But like
Mhm.
literally all three of them, they did awesome. I mean, I don't even think they ever fought while I was sick. And
Oh,
I mean, they're siblings, they can fight.
of course.
But I don't remember ever them fighting, ever going through it.
That's
And
wonderful.
they blocked it out. I don't know, but I don't remember.
That's a testimony to family too. I mean, that's what so many children don't have these days anymore, is there's just not that family unit. And so it makes everything else so much harder to go through.
It really does.
Um, so that's a blessing that you had that. And so thank you. This is wonderful. As we kind of wrap it up here, is there anything else that you want to add, or maybe what would you say to people, women who are just finding out, or who are going through whatever, what would you say to them?
Hey, um, well, like we have been saying a lot today, like mindset is huge. And I know it can
Mhm.
be really hard to have a positive mindset when you're faced with something super scary
Mm,
and the unknown.
yeah,
But I mean, count your blessings, see what's there that helps push you through. Make sure you have a good support system. If you don't have one, find me on Facebook. I will be more than happy to be one for you because I know how much it can help and get you through. And so,
right.
yeah, I mean,
That's
mindset
great.
and support are so, so big and important. And, you know,
Hmm.
make sure you are taking care of yourself. It's really hard when you're going through that. I did a lot of soaking in the tub.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of soaking in the tub. Sleep. Don't feel guilty. Sleep as much as you need. Take care of
Mhm.
yourself. So,
Okay. All
yeah,
right.
because
Well,
I mean, taking care of yourself is going to make you a better person to take care of others. But if you're going through something like that, you need to be taking care of yourself so that you
Right.
can be there for others later.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You have to take care of yourself first, or you can't take care of anyone. Well, Erin,
Yeah.
thank you once again. What a wonderful story of testimony of hope and just determination and perseverance and all that we like to just to be surrounded with and to do. So thank you so much. I'm so
Thank
glad
you.
that you look wonderful. Your hair looks
Oh, thank you.
beautiful. And
Thank
we're
you.
looking forward to working with you more over there in the academy. But so everybody, yeah, just please give us a thumbs up and share, comment, subscribe to the channel so that you know when the next interview is coming up. Go check out some of the other interviews, and be encouraged and share with others who may be going through some similar things or just might need some encouragement. And if you have a story, please, I'll be putting email below. You can contact me. And Erin, if you have links Facebook link that you want to put in, I can do that too for people to reach out to you if that's okay. But yeah, if you have a story, please contact me. I'd love to interview you and to bring some more hope and encouragement to people around the world to release your sound into this earth. So, all right. So until we see you again next time, I'm not sure what the next one's going to be yet. Do I? I don't think so. But anyway, we'll see you again. Thank you again, Erin. I appreciate you
Thank
so
you.
much. All right.
Thank you for having me again.
Ciao.